Would you like to own an object that would ruin your life and possibly end it? No? I think you're alone in that, because museums all over the world love to locate and display cursed objects, and people from all over the world journey to them just to catch a glimpse. Hello, curious minds. I'm V, and today I'm going to be talking about the top 5 haunted museums hiding cursed ancient artifacts. Let's jump in. Number 5, the Great Bed of Ware. Located in the Victoria and Albert Museum, the Great Bed of Ware has become infamous for its dark, twisted history. Constructed in 1850, the bed was created as a tourist attraction for an inn in Ware. The 4-poster bed is over 3 meters wide and is the only known example of a bed this size. It's been said that it is able to accommodate at least 4 couples, minimum. 8 people, wow. Guests would carve their initials into the wood or apply red wax seals to commemorate their stay and leave their mark on the bed. The marks are still visible on the bed to this day. The bed's carving is typical for the late Elizabethan period, with ornamental ribbon-like patterns, lions and satyrs to symbolize fertility and virility. By 1931, the bed became the single most expensive item of furniture, specifically a single piece of furniture opposed to a set. According to legend, the carpenter who made the bed was so enraged by the disrespectful treatment of his work that his ghost attacked any commoner who slept in it. And you know, the carpenter made the bed for a king, and then traveling commoners slept in it and carved their names all over. I'd be kind of upset too. Like, he must have believed the bed was going to be treated a lot differently than it actually was. The bed he had made for a king was instead damaged and covered in graffiti. The bed is now on display in Britain, and you are able to visit it. But luckily for both you and the carpenter's ghost, no one is able to sleep in the bed now. Number 4, the Terracotta Army. The Terracotta Army is a collection of terracotta sculptures that depict the armies of Qin Shi Huang, the first emperor of China. You know, the one that searched for immortality and ate mercury in an attempt to live forever? Yeah, that one. The statues are a form of art that were buried along with Qin Shi, with the purpose of protecting him in his afterlife. The statues were first discovered in 1974 by a group of local farmers. The figures varied in height according to their rank, the tallest being the generals. The figures included warriors, chariots, and horses. There were 3 pits, which held over 8,000 soldiers, 130 chariots with 520 horses, and 150 cavalry horses. Most were found in the mausoleum for Qin Shi, but there were also some found in nearby pits that weren't directly in his massive underground grave. The village that the farmers were from believed that if they disturbed the army, they would receive misfortune and bouts of bad luck. Their suspicions were sadly correct, seeing as their 2,000-year-old village was destroyed in order to create an enormous museum over the area. I mean, I'd say that's less misfortune and more human idiocy. Just leave well enough alone. You don't need to make everything a spectacle. The extravagant funeral art is available for observation in the museum, and pieces of the army have been sent all over the world. But you should definitely think twice before deciding to visit the exhibit. Bad luck and misfortune are definitely able to spread to curious onlookers. Guys, I know I usually tell you to stay curious, but if you come across someone's funeral art, don't be curious. Turn around and pretend like you never saw it. It's like if you decided to unearth someone's coffin just because you thought it was cool. It's weird. That would be a weird, disrespectful thing to do. Number 3, the Hope Diamond. The Hope Diamond is one of the most famous diamonds in the world. The diamond originated in the Kolar mine in Andhra Pradesh, India. The history of the stone began when a French merchant traveler purchased the diamond, which was triangular in shape and crudely cut. He described the color as a beautiful violet. The stone was then sold to King Louis along with 14 other large diamonds and many smaller ones. The stone was then recut by the court jeweler. It was described by them as an intense steely blue, and the stone became known as the blue diamond of the crown, or the French blue. It was set in gold and hung from a neck ribbon, which was worn by the king on ceremonial occasions. The next king got the diamond reset, And then, when he and Marie Antoinette attempted to escape France in 1792, the diamond was stolen after being seized by the government. The stone was passed on to many, many people, being set in different jewelries and headpieces. Eventually, the stone would be displayed in several exhibitions for people to view worldwide. In 1958, the diamond was donated to the Smithsonian, quickly becoming the main attraction. Since its donation, the stone has only left the premises 4 times. Once to the Louvre, once to South Africa at the Rand Easter Show opening, once to Harry Winston, and one other time to clean and restore the diamond. According to legend, the stone is cursed and will bring bad luck and misfortune to anyone who owns it. The curse is said to have come about when the original diamond was stolen from the eye of a statue. The thief who originally stole the stone met a grisly end, and owners of the diamond over the years have followed the same fate, being beheaded, executed, imprisoned, turned bankrupt, and many of their lives have ended abruptly at their own hands and often at someone else's. Since the diamond reached the Smithsonian, there have been no reports of the curse's effects, but I would suggest the only reason for that is no one wears it. I mean, if I got the chance, I have to say, I'd wear it. The thing is beautiful, and I would leave this life happy, knowing that I had millions of dollars strapped around my neck, glittering and shining in a vibrant blue. Number 2, unlucky mummy. The unlucky mummy is an ancient Egyptian artifact owned by the famous colonizers, the British. More specifically, it lies within the halls of the British Museum. The identity of the original owner is unknown. The artifact is described as a painted wooden mummy board of an unidentified woman and was obtained by the British Museum in 1889. The unlucky mummy is actually not a mummy at all. Instead, it is a gessoed and painted wooden inner coffin lid. It was found at Thebes and has been dated by its shape and style of decoration to the late 21st or the early 22nd dynasty. It is 162 centimeters in length and made of wood and plaster. The paint is placed on the plaster and hands protrude out of the mummy board. A nice 3D moment, you know? Its reputation for misfortune has been told for years, and many attribute large-scale disasters to the presence of the board. One story says the mummy was being moved from the British Museum to New York aboard the Titanic, which, as you know, sank. Disclaimers surrounding the mummy's danger have even been published. One writer even conducted research into the history of the artifact, coming to the conclusion that the object had malevolent powers, and guess what? He passed away only 3 years later. The writer was very young and had no health concerns. His life ended at the mere age of 36. The mummy which the board belonged to has never been found, but many say that it was left in Egypt. I have to say, people keep taking things that don't belong to them, disturbing bodies that had been left undisturbed for thousands of years, and then they act all surprised when the stuff is cursed. I definitely put a curse on the lid of my coffin. Anyone who separates me and my coffin lid, or even pick me up from my resting place to move me into a fluorescent hellscape, would definitely be sentenced to a fate of mediocrity and ignorant greed. Wait, oh my gosh. Anyone who does that is already both of those things. Things are starting to make a lot more sense now. Honestly, I love history, but at the same time, no, I don't. I don't need to know the genetic makeup of people 2,000 years ago. That won't help me. People just need to chill on the grave digging. Add that to the list of the top 5 weirdest, most unsettling things humans do. I could definitely make a highly controversial and opinionated video on that, which would likely get me canceled. It would also be like 2 hours long. Number 1, Cursed Ledger. A family in Kent donated this haunted book to Brighton's most haunted house, Preston Manor. They donated it after they were plagued by spectral visions and paranormal visitors. The shop ledger is from 1915, but was found trapped in a brick wall at a jeweler while a demolition was being performed in the 1980s. It was discovered by Tony Benyovitz in 1988 when he was demolishing the Shoreland Fuchs shop, which had closed in 1984. He, for some reason, decided to bring the book home, and it caused him and his daughter to suffer a myriad of paranormal hauntings, which they described as spirit visitations. His daughter, Josephine, claimed that images appeared in her rug, including a group of men, women, and children, and a soldier with a horse. She said that the spirits told her that the book had to be returned to Brighton for the anniversary of its first entry in December of 1990. 1915. The spirit's requests caused Josephine to phone Preston Manor, who sent a medium to visit the house. The medium confirmed that they sensed bad things emanating from it. Wow, specific. Josephine happily donated the ledger to the manor. She had no interest in keeping it to herself, or even keeping it in her possession. Fair, I mean, I don't think I would want to keep it either, to be honest. The manor recalled their thoughts about the book, saying, "At first, we weren't sure whether we'd take this apparently ordinary 100-year-old shop ledger, but the family impressed on us quite how scared they were of having the book in their keeping. When I had a phone conversation with Josephine, she seemed petrified." The book contained entries listing the jewelry sold from the shop it belonged to. After the book had been donated, Kent, the officer of Preston Manor, kept the ledger on her desk for a couple of weeks, but was unable to understand what exactly had happened to the book. Preston Manor holds several haunted items and is well known for the plethora of ghosts and spectral activities it contains. If you're a fan of getting haunted by the Lady in White or the Grey Lady, those are descriptive names, then you should definitely consider taking a trip to Brighton and Hove, East Sussex, to visit Preston Manor. They absolutely have their share of Victorian ghosts and haunted artifacts. Definitely a lot for the paranormal enthusiasts of the world to enjoy. I'll always find it strange that humans will just take things that aren't theirs and then complain about the repercussions. Here's a tip for everyone. If it's not yours and it's buried in a haunted tomb or stolen from the body of a statue of worship, don't touch it. Just leave it. It doesn't matter how pretty it is, it's not worth it. Just leave it. Well, that brings us to the end of today's video. What cursed artifact would you risk your life to see? Let me know in the comments or shoot me a DM. I hope you enjoyed today's video, but most importantly, I hope you learned something. Thanks for hanging out with me. Stay curious, friends. Bye!